So, hey guys, today we're going to be doing a little bit of deck building. So, I've been meaning to do this for a little while now. Final Bringer of Bend Times. This card is actually pretty solid. So, the effect is as follows: target one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. You can only activate one Final Bringer of Bend Times per turn. So, what's so great about this card? So, first off, this card is good going first. Going second, it's also pretty great, right? So if I'm going first, there are a lot of little niche use cases where you could use this. So just for example, if I am playing maybe Unchained, right? And let's say the specific starter in this hand is going to be Rakea plus one Unchained back row. If I have Final Bringer of the End Times and my opponent specifically attempts to imper me, now we have two options. We have the option of Unchained Soul of Sharvara to pop the Rakea. We also have the idea of Final Bringer of the End Times to pop the Rakea and pop the Imperm, allowing me to effectively dodge the infinite impermanence in one additional way, which is pretty neat, I would say. And then there is also the fact that this is able to be set because it is a quick play. So let's say I make my full play, my opponent has no response, I can just set Final Bringer of the End Times to pop one of my monsters and pop any of my opponent's cards. So the other good thing about this card, of course, is that it works against monsters and spell traps. So I could pop, for example, let's say a Gimmick Puppet field spell. We could pop that, or we could potentially pop a normal summon like for Sprite or something, or Yubel, like normal summon the Dark Beckoning Beast. We'd be able to pop that, and then my opponent is just worse for wear, I guess, you know? Not doing as hot, but if it were just like an Imperm, for example, we wouldn't really have a response to the activation of the Gimmick Puppet field spell. And yeah, that field spell is pretty tough as well. And this would also be decent against like a Tenpai, being able to remove their field spell as well. But if they don't have the field spell, you'd also be able to remove like a normal summoned Chandra, I guess. That would have been a better example to go with. So that's great. And then going second, for the same kind of reasons as earlier, it's kind of also good. So like if my opponent has an Imperm, they try to Imperm my normal summon monster's effect, I might be able to use the effect of Final Bringer of the End Time. So it's not like specifically going to be any board, but let's assume they attempt to Imperm. So then we chain Final Bringer, target whatever they're trying to Imperm, and then we will try to do Final Bringer of the End Times to pop a different card. So here in this case, they're going to, if they really want to, well, it depends, I guess. If they really want to use, or not use, if they really want to negate whatever our normal summon monster's effect is in this case, like maybe it's a Snake Eye Ash or something, then they might have to throw out another negate. But even then, that won't deal with the Final Bringer. So we could then go like, well, target, so Imperm targets our guy, then we Final Bringer target our guy, plus one of our opponent's other cards. So they'll knock out whatever interaction that is. So we have that dealt with, and then they might use a third negate on Rakea. So in this case, that would be like 3 different negates. So I guess we could look at it this way. So let's say we have maybe something like this. Our opponent's end board is Shishao plus Sword Soul Sinister Sovereign Shishing Longwan here. Shishing. Who knows? Anyway, we have this guy here. So you have this plus Imperm. So maybe let's say we do normal summon, activate effect, chain Shishao, and then we go chain Final Bringer. Our opponent will then chain the Imperm, but we target with our Final Bringer the Xing Longwan here. So that by itself like outs that entire board pretty much. So that's pretty nuts if you think about it that way. And I mean that's just like a specific situation, but I'm sure that you can find some mileage out of this. So the important thing here is just that I guess Filebringer probably works best if there's also a reason you would want to be destroying your cards. So in Unchained, if I destroy Rakea will then float into something else, which is just purely beneficial. Well, usually anyways, so we could go like Rakea effect to try to pop this, go into Sarama. Sarama can then set a guy, pop a guy, or whatever. But there's also technically going into like Abominable Unchained Soul, which is another pop. We have Unchained Soul of Disaster, which can threaten to link off one of our opponent's monsters. And all that good stuff, I guess. So we have that, and then we have stuff like maybe Memento or Fire King, which they're fine in general when you pop certain cards. So, for example, with Memento Land Fusion, the Fusion Summon effect here says specifically if a monster in your possession was destroyed by a card effect this turn, you can also shuffle Memento monsters from your graveyard into the deck as material. But I mean, as of currently, the only target you really have is Twin Dragon, so it's not like that insanely great, but I mean, it could potentially come up, right? So we could maybe, I guess in this case, it'd be good to trigger our destruction effect to then use Twin Dragon. Maybe this would be niche, but we could use Twin Dragon to maybe grab the Memento Lin Darkblade, Mace, or maybe Goblin. Who knows? Just something like that. In something like a Tearlament, this is probably also not that bad. So if we have, for example, we go through this line. So if we have normal summon Rhino Heart, our opponent tries to Imper Rhino, we just pop Rhino, and Rhino doesn't need to be on field to fusion summon, so that'll be fine. You can send Havness, special summon Kikkalos. If our opponent waits for Kikkalos, it would be a little bit better for them situationally, depending on how good your mills are. But if you wait till Kikkalos, we can simply on Kikkalos search effect, pop Kikkalos, and also pop Imperm, and we still get to search the tier cache and Killaman's Kikkalos. So in this case, for Kikkalos, you get to choose whether you're adding to hand or sending to the graveyard on resolution of the effect. So we could add tier cache to our hand or send it to the graveyard if imperm is not being activated, right? So we could kind of mess about with that a little bit. And also, I guess in this case, you could also technically add Grief, the special summon Sharon, send Sharon to just make Rukelis, which is a safe play. So you have that option as well. The only kind of somewhat unfortunate thing, I guess, about Final Bringer of 10 times, I think, would be that it can't destroy your cards and just monsters. So there are some cases where destroying your own like spell traps could be beneficial. For example, like one example that I think would be very disgusting would be like up Scythe, pop another one of your opponent's cards, and then we Scythe block. That would probably be disgusting, I guess. But technically, wait a second. If we're playing like White Forest type stuff or something that sends back row, like I don't know exactly what that would be, but we have a lot of cards that do that as of currently, like just Diabellstar, for example. We could use one of these guys to send a site that we set with Dagda. Setting with Dagda is not really that difficult. And Dagda actually has the effect where if it is specifically link summoned, if it is destroyed at all, you can special summon an artifact monster from your graveyard in defense position. So we could technically kinda still scythe block with, I guess, Final Bringer of Then times here. if we like Final Bringer pop Dagda, right? And then that would allow us to bring back Scythe, which is fine, I guess. It's a line for sure. And it says destroy them here. So would we potentially be able to have a monster that just can't be destroyed? I don't know. What does destroy them mean? I don't recall in terms of like problem solving code text. Let's see. What does this say? Destroy both. Destroy them. Huh. I think we could maybe do, yeah, because it says destroy them and not destroy both. I think this will resolve even if it doesn't destroy one of the cards. So maybe we go like target IP, target our own card. If IP activates effect, I believe then we wouldn't uh we wouldn't we would destroy our own card still in that case. So that's kind of how that works. Other unfortunate thing, I guess, is that this is a hard ones per turn, so opening multiples of Final Bringer is not going to feel that great. But I mean, it's still a pretty decent card in Master Duel if you consider the fact that you have to go first and second all the time, and this is just pretty solid for going both first and second. And this is backer removal, and simply being backer removal that you can main deck somewhat reasonably. This is just a pretty solid card in any kind of meta where stun or stun adjacent things kind of exist. So that's very great. So here's a few examples of, well, we're going to just assume you're playing a deck that is going to be benefiting off of Final Bringer. So if my opponent is running, for example, Kushtira, the only really problematic Kushtira monster is just, for the most part, a Rise Heart. So we normal summon guy, activate Final Bringer, pop a Rise Heart, and then we're good, pretty much, right? And then a lot of decks can just in general beat Kashira after you out a Rise Heart. I mean, it's not like a guaranteed thing, but your odds drastically improve, especially since there's no macro that you have to deal with anymore. Probably. And then if your opponent has a legit macro, you know, you can technically normal summon a guy and then out it. So, example, if I am playing, I guess, like, Yubel, I might normal summon um, the Dark Beckoning Beast, normal summon the Lotus, pop the macro plus the Dark Beckoning Beast, and then activate the Lotus, and we have combo from there, I guess. And also, like, this can out like Inspector Border and stuff, so that is also pretty helpful just in general. It outs just a lot of things, and that's just somewhat useful. So the one issue about this is that this still doesn't quite beat like Runic Sun. It's just a good thing that Runic Sun has been nerfed to the ground. For now, it's still like somewhat playable, but you won't be seeing it as often. So with Final Bringer, we can't really beat like the Hugin with a Floodgate. So that's just unfortunate, I guess. Well, what else can we do though? Well, there are some cards I think that have some pretty nice benefits being destroyed. Maybe it'd be worth taking a look at that. Or maybe we can just tech this into a really good deck. I don't know. I think both options sound kind of viable. Just having like a monster on the field, you probably do have that. So the Final Bringer is just going to usually be live. It's just if the destruction effect is strong enough to be worth running, mostly, I guess. Imperm is always at 3, so there's just like a 30% chance you can always do the play where you just pop your card plus Imperm and then do whatever your play is. I guess it's like a little bit situational. If your deck can run this or not, but aside from that, I mean, card looks pretty solid. If I were to have to run this in a deck right now, I I can't think of one that's like insanely good off the top of my head. Like Poltergeist doesn't really use it that well. Mara could run it, I guess, reasonably. And real quick, does this have to destroy? Yeah, it has to destroy one card your opponent controls, unfortunately. So that's another small downside to it. If we could destroy one of our own cards, it has some uses. So, for example, if we were playing Unchained and our opponent had Effect Failure instead of Imperm, then we would be able to go like Normal Sun Rekea, targeting this. If our opponent has like an Effect Failure, we can pop Rekea plus Abominable Chamber of the Unchained in this case. And that would be a pretty nice play to have, just in general. Does this target though? Yeah, it targets. So, a bunch of small little downsides that kind of add up a little bit. So the card in general, I would say is good. Uh, it's not like meta defining though. I don't think it's like game breaking, but which I mean, it doesn't really need to be game breaking, but it could have used a little more sauce. It's very restricted, which is a little bit unfortunate because the card's just very solid, I guess. I am interested a little bit in, let's assume this card does become meta, then you also have to consider like if your opponent is also running Final Bringer of the End Time. So if I bringer my guy and then you bringer your guy that I just targeted, that'd be like really bad. And then it's just like a lot of mind games or like predictions you have to kind of do. So that sounds like it could potentially be a game losing play, just like not assuming your opponent's set is like Final Bringer. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.